This sounds about.
Ladies and gentlemen, we live in the wheels of life. Sometimes we're on top and sometimes we're on down. In this world, we know such a problem called disaster. And disasters can cause a lot of problems if they are not being taken seriously. Before I go straight to the next, I want to limit and also define the environmental disaster itself. Environmental disaster itself is different from natural disaster because environmental disaster is a disaster which is caused by humans or fault, not happens naturally. And then we define the international effects as if the effect from disaster itself harm or affects another country. And ladies and gentlemen, the status right now is there are kinds of disaster, like I said before, which is natural disasters, which is naturally happens and is unpredictable. And there are disasters called environmental disasters, which is not in a normal condition and caused by human itself, and such as, for example, flood and fire. And ladies and gentlemen, our urgency in this debate is normal disaster can't be blamed because it happens naturally and predictably. But environmental disaster should be considered seriously because it's caused by humans' fault and can be dangerous for the country. And then, ladies and gentlemen, our stance in this debate is we believe that those countries who cause environmental disaster and affect this other country should be given sanction. And then our team split is, as the first speaker, I'm going to tell you about the idea of environmental disasters and advantages if we give sanction. The second speaker, I'm going to tell you about the further impacts from the stakeholders' point of view, and the third, I'm going to do clarification and rebuttals. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my argument. The first is about idea of environmental disasters. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said before, disasters always come. But if it's because of the human's fault itself, it must be considered quickly. If not, it will cause such as trouble. For example, which is in a hot situation right now, the smoke disaster in Riyadh. It is the smoke disaster itself is caused by people who illegally burn the forest.
Sir?
Yes.
Literally, the smoke fog in the Riyadh is caused not only just from the human, but only about the El Nino and also the condition of the soil gumbo itself. Thank you.
Yes, I should agree on that. But the statement that the negative team have stated is just a supporting fact. But if those people not illegally burn the forest, those smoke will not happen. And then the smoke itself causes a thick and big smoke who affects lots of things. For example, in national scale first, in Bali, the smoke itself caused lots of flights being cancelled and delayed, ladies and gentlemen. And because of that, it's messing people's agenda, and it's like people's become lost, ladies and gentlemen. And for the international scale itself, for example, Thailand and Singapore. Lots of news say that Singapore citizens itself complaining about the smoke because it's annoying them and the fresh air in Singapore is affected. And because of that smoke in Singapore, their citizens' health will be affected. And by that example, the environmental disaster is caused by people's fault. because they are handless. And by that disaster that is caused by terrorist people, the nation should be punished or given sanction. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say my second argument, which is the advantages if we give sanction. If ASEAN give sanction to the country itself. Ladies and gentlemen, the first is ASEAN's reputation will turn high. Why? Because ASEAN will known as a strict association. Sir? No, thank you. Because of what? Because they want to give an ultimatum to the country to take the disaster seriously.
Before you go on, sir,
Sure.
I would like to clarify. He doesn't mention what kind of sanction he will do.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the POI, and I will say in the next speech. And ladies and gentlemen, okay, because the negative team asked me about the sanction itself, I will ask it. The first, the ASEAN will give first the ultimatum. Why? Because an ultimatum must be done. The ultimatum itself, the ultimatum itself makes the country, which is Indonesia, in an example, take or consider that problem or that disaster seriously. Because in the real case, it's not taken seriously. Because for the evidence, the government itself even don't give a proper mask for their own citizens. It's a proof that the government is not taking that problem seriously, even if that problem is going on an international scale. No, thank you. And then the other proof is, even no one from the government came to Riau to observe the condition. And ladies and gentlemen, the health minister of this year said that and have a decision that the condition in Riau is just fine, and it makes the citizens of Riau itself complaining about the health minister this year. They give a lot of open letters for the health minister, but until now the action is not taken seriously. And then the other thing that I want to explain is, what will ASEAN do if there's not only one country who have environmental disaster happening at the same time? Maybe you think that the country itself is having a disaster, so everyone in this world who is suffering should give help. And ladies and gentlemen, if a lot of countries is having trouble at the same time, ASEAN cannot help them all. So each country have to take their problem seriously. And because of that and facts, we believe that we oppose this motion. Sorry.
Now let the moment the first speaker from negative team, please welcome the vote from.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, thank you for the host. And ladies and gentlemen, this debate is going to interesting because the government team keep thinking and defaulting that ASEAN should sanction as its member that from environmental disasters that have international weapons, ladies and gentlemen. And the problem is, as we know, government has the obligation to service the society with the best way, ladies and gentlemen. And before I tell you about all of my argument, that you hear in mind that here we believe that the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, in this case ASEAN, should not sanction its member from environmental disasters that have international effect. So here I start as the first speaker from the negative team. Will tell you about why we have to use our solution. In this case, what we will give the solution for you, and the second speaker will tell why giving the sanction will further burden the country with the environmental disasters. First of all, before I tell you about my argument, I will tell you about my rebuttal first. They keep talking about the sanction as ultimatum, ladies and gentlemen. How ultimatum can be the sanction, the single sanction in this case. That in these motions we have to give the sanction. As we know, that the goal of sanction is to make another people feel don't want to do that game, but they just keep talking about the ultimatum, ladies and gentlemen, and it's only give for the country itself, ladies and gentlemen. So. Literally, as we know that sanctions with the ultimatum form is not have no impact, ladies and gentlemen. Then, let's see the status quo in ASEAN today. In ASEAN, there are so many kind of environmental disasters, like either was caused by human or caused by the nature itself. But, ladies and gentlemen, as we know that, let's see why this motion appears. The answer is why the motion appears because the poor people say we have to give a sanction for a country and other things instead. And the urgency in Asia today is ASEAN is dominating by a developing country, and it's difficult for developing country to accomplish all of their problem by themselves. So when the government will only add the problem, add the sanction for them, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see, ladies and gentlemen, the solution of us. We give you a solution that we will not give a sanction because of what? Because as we know, as a developing country, it's so difficult to accomplish all of their problem by themselves. So our solution is ASEAN not need to give a sanction. Why? Because it's make, like what I said before, it's make that country who get the environmental disaster more difficult to accomplish the problem. And for example, they get the disasters, but they have to pay the sanction itself. It's make them more difficult to accomplish the problem. Yes, please.
I'm sorry, but if they can't handle their own problem by themselves, they're proving that they're not capable to take care of their own state, and thus proving the government's incapability against further.
If we say about the government capability, so we give a solution, better solution for the government. That government is not just only give the sanction itself, but give government still give the decision for the people who causes that problem of environmental disaster itself. And in our solution, in the mechanism of our solution itself, ASEAN only need to help them. We don't need to give them we give them the sanction, but it's only help them, ladies and gentlemen. What kind of help? It's based on the environmental disaster itself. Like if on Riau, we can smoke in Riau, because it's already have an international effect. ASEAN just help with send a plane that can bring water, or the most important is fund, help with a fund itself. And why we have to appear? Why we have to hold this policy, ladies and gentlemen? Because of what? Because as we know, ASEAN should let every country have their own decision. This part of our mechanism that ASEAN should let every country have their own decision for the people who causing the environmental disaster, ladies and gentlemen. Why we have to let, as the ASEAN, we have to let the country to give a decision to decide what sanction for the people itself. Why not ASEAN who do that? Because of what, ladies and gentlemen, ASEAN have the principle of non-interference. And that's the question is why this principle of non-interference can be appears in this world. Because of ASEAN
on point of information, sir.
Have a potential. What's potential? The goal is to make ASEAN useful. And the background of this principle is every country in ASEAN could potentially have a problem between an organization, in this case ASEAN, with the country, or the country with the country. So if you want to just ban this principle, it seems like you want the organization and the country intervenes in another country, like what you say before, just give a sanction and another one. And ladies and gentlemen, its non-interference principle is accepted by the help. It's only for the sanction and another form of the another form of help and another form of interference, ladies and gentlemen. So the last part of our mechanism is the socialization, because what can cause the environment disaster? We have to give a socialization for our citizens, as we know that our citizens is not as educated as we think and as we hope. So we have to tell them, we have to socialize to them about this problem, about this matter, what can cause it. So they can think that if this happened to my country, it's too dangerous for us too. So they will think how to minimize this causes. Yes, please.
No, I mean, as long as this kind of environmental disaster happens, then ASEAN will keep funding those countries, or no?
If you keep talking about funding the country, so guys, it's only what ASEAN do, because ladies and gentlemen, because that's the obligation as ASEAN as the organization to give the funding, to give the help, like what I said before, but not the sanction, because as we know that sanction is only at the problem of the country itself, but help is how we minimize the problem of that country, ladies and gentlemen. So if you say ASEAN is an organization of Southeast Asia, we have to see, ladies and gentlemen, what's the goal of ASEAN? Is to make the all of country be better and be more developing than before. And if you just give the sanction, it just how do you want to the ASEAN country be better and be more developing than before? And also, ladies and gentlemen, I will summarize my argument today that, as we know, they keep talking about the sanction of ultimatum, and as I said before, ultimatum has have no effect for these motions. And also, the status quo in ASEAN is there are so many kind of environmental disasters, either caused by human or the purely nature causes, ladies and gentlemen. And our solution, that the best solution in this case, in this motion, is ASEAN not need to give a sanction to the country, but ASEAN have to help the country, ladies and gentlemen. And also, ASEAN should let every country have their own decision for the people who causing the environmental disaster, because apa? Because based on what literally ASEAN have the principle itself. So if you want, and the last mechanism is to socialization, socialize to another people. So ladies and gentlemen, if you want to make our country better, just stay with us. Thank you.
Spend 8 minutes 13 seconds. Now let me invite the second speaker from the affirmative team. Please welcome Ms. Mutia.
Ladies and gentlemen, I, as the second speaker of the government team, I would like to first deliver you my rebuttals. First, I would like to clarify that in Riyadh's case, we believe, even if there's another factors, we believe that the factor that's worsening the smoke or the smoke is the human acts itself, ladies and gentlemen. And also, ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to clarify that the first stage of our sanction is ultimatum. But if that's not accomplished, we will tell them to pay for the disasters that they made. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if we do something wrong, we need to fix it. Yeah, right, ladies and gentlemen. And also, they stated that since Indonesia is a developing country, it will be difficult, and Indonesia will be under pressure, so on, ladies and gentlemen. But we still believe that it's the right way. Because by sanction, they will still do it at the end, ladies and gentlemen, and that will be later explained in my argument. And ladies and gentlemen, they also said that they will, ASEAN will give help to these. Yes.
We keep talking about if there are no nature effect. We keep talking about nature effect and the human effect, human causes, but it will not affect internationally. But our mission today is internationally. If no nature effect, nature causes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you very much for your information. It will be later explained in my argument, ladies and gentlemen, about the impact on the international effect. And back to my rebuttals, ladies and gentlemen, and they keep stating that they will give help based on the environment disaster. Ladies and gentlemen, they stated in their status quo that these days ASEAN has many members that has environmental disaster as well. So is ASEAN going to help all of them? Ladies and gentlemen, we are uncertain with that.
Beyond this,
No, thank you. And also, they also give us the mechanism that they will give the fund as ASEAN's help, ladies and gentlemen. But if ASEAN keep giving them the fund, will the member of the ASEAN will rely on ASEAN? Rely on ASEAN to give them fund, ladies and gentlemen. No, thank you. And they keep saying about that ASEAN has a policy about uninterference, but we're talking about this motion that this state is as a member of ASEAN, which means that ASEAN has to take action for this member itself, ladies and gentlemen.
the point, ma'am.
No, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my arguments and also my further facts. Today, in this motion, we have stakeholders, which is the Indonesian government and also the citizen, international citizen, that concludes the internal effect, and also ASEAN itself. Ladies and gentlemen, if we don't give sanction to this member, this member of ASEAN will not take the case well. They won't take it as a big deal, and but they won't be conscious that it also make their country name bad and also ASEAN's name bad, ladies and gentlemen. And as a member of ASEAN, their job is to survive their members, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure they want a good reputation. That's why we want them to fix their problem, ladies and gentlemen, so they can also be known as a responsible state, ladies and gentlemen. No, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, if they have a bad name, won't they be discussed to the ASEAN itself? And in the eyes of ASEAN, will they be worried about their ASEAN name itself? Because directly it also causes ASEAN's name to be bad, since that state is also a member of ASEAN itself. And it will seem like ASEAN can supervise well, ASEAN isn't strict, and also ASEAN can manage even their own member. And ladies and gentlemen, in this case, we are talking about reputation, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the further impacts on the international citizen. They will be asking questions. Why did ASEAN let this happen? Why did the member of ASEAN do this, ladies and gentlemen? Where is the strict action of ASEAN, ladies and gentlemen? No, thank you. And they will also be disappointed of the member of ASEAN itself. And they will be worried about their condition, ladies and gentlemen. They're not the one who caused it. Why did they get the effect, ladies and they will be disappointed and also worried about their condition. And also, it could also be a problem to the bond between the member of ASEAN and also international citizens. They won't be prosperous, ladies and gentlemen, because international citizens will be worried and they will doubt the ASEAN members, ladies and gentlemen. And if they have a cooperation or if they help each other probably in an economical way, they will feel disappointed, which means a bad reputation again for the members of ASEAN, ladies and gentlemen. No, thank you. ASEAN, ladies and gentlemen, one of these members of ASEAN caused it, which means ASEAN will feel like they failed as a supervisor. They will be disappointed. They will be ashamed of their member if we don't give a strict action to this problem. And ladies and gentlemen, if we give a strict action,
The point, ma'am.
yes.
Help is a real action. Help is a real action. It's just so if you say that. Well, better reputation to ASEAN, it's not all around because people say that, oh, ASEAN already helped them. The point.
But ladies and gentlemen, as we can see, with this sanction, we also indirectly help them, ladies and gentlemen, because we help them get no, thank you. We help them get a good reputation as a responsible state, because we want them to fix their own problems, ladies and gentlemen. No, thank you. And if they give sanction, the government will feel like they will be obligated to do it, since they are ASEAN's members and they won't risk any bad reputations because of it, and they will be known as responsible. They know their action and they know that they have to fix their actions, ladies and gentlemen. And when the problem is finally done, we can actually go back to our proper state, ladies and gentlemen. And for ASEAN, if we give them sanction, they will actually fix their name and reputation, since the problem's actually having a process. No, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, international citizens, they will realize that, ASEAN is giving a sanction. ASEAN is giving a strict action, ladies and gentlemen. So and that ASEAN actually cares about their own members, and they will know ASEAN's name as a strict association, ladies and gentlemen. They care about their members and they won't let their reputation go down, and also their members' reputation go down, ladies and gentlemen. And no thank you. And they will be also relieved that the problem is finally solved since we give them sanction. But sanction again will not cause under pressure for them later, because as my as my team has stated in the reply, if they can handle this problem, doesn't it mean that the government isn't capable enough to listen to them? And also, ASEAN members will learn from this as well. They will learn that the ASEAN, the association that I'm in, they're very strict. And they will know if they do the same action, they will get the strict action as the effect of what they did before legitimate. They will be proud to be an ASEAN member, because who wouldn't want to be proud to be inside an association that's responsible, knows what's best for their members, and also inside an association which is strict and cares about their members. Ladies and gentlemen, we can conclude that if we give sanction to these ASEAN members, we won't put them under pressure as the reason I stated before. And we also think the sanction is for stage 1, we give them ultimatum, which is us telling them to finish the problem as soon as possible. But that doesn't mean that we don't care. That means the ASEAN really cares about their members. They want their members' reputation to be good, and also themselves. And stage 2, if we don't accomplish our cooperation, we will ask them to pay for the damages, since we want them to be a responsible member of the ASEAN itself, and also a responsible state leadership. And that concludes why we think that we should give sanction to these members, to ASEAN members, for environmental disasters that has international effects. And we humbly beg you to propose this motion. Thank you very much.
Now, once we find the second speaker from the negative team, please welcome Mr. Ivan.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Environmental disasters are the effects that can we meet worldwide. I'm sorry, I mean good evening. Environmental disasters are the events that we can meet worldwide. Some of them we can even predict. Because, ladies and gentlemen, no one wants a disaster, literally. Even a country, a group, a member of a group doesn't want a disaster, because they know when a disaster happens, they will have the victims to treat, the loss they have to pay, and all the internal relation they will have to fix. So, ladies and gentlemen, all the nations, without question, wants to truly prevent the disaster from happening without you have to give the ultimatum. So, in this motion tonight, I, as the second speaker, will tell you about why a sanction will further burden nation with disasters. I will get to my substantial speech, but before I will get to my rebuttal. The second speaker said that their team gave a POI to my first speaker that said, if members in ASEAN have so many natural disasters, so many environmental disasters, then how would you pay for that? And ladies and gentlemen, my first speaker mentioned about environmental disaster in ASEAN, that so many environmental disasters happen. Actually, it's total, not the one who can affect internationally, like flooding. Flooding doesn't affect internationally, it just affects the state. So it doesn't include in this motion, but my first speaker wants to tell you the debriefing of the condition in the country in ASEAN. So their POI is irrelevant, ladies and gentlemen. And then the second speaker said about when the ASEAN become quiet and don't get strict with their nation, don't get sanction, don't give sanction to the members, ladies and gentlemen, it will tarnish their reputation. But ladies and gentlemen, as my first speaker have mentioned to you, the solution we have will still help them, ladies and gentlemen. Will still help them. So it won't make the ASEAN names become tarnished, contradictory. It will make the ASEAN names become better, ladies and gentlemen. Because an organization with 11 countries in it should be helping each other when one of them get a disaster, ladies and gentlemen. And then
The second speaker mentioned about sanction equals help, ladies and gentlemen, because with sanction, they can make a nation with a disaster become reputationally be a responsible country. Become reputationally a responsible country. But ladies and gentlemen, you have to know that when a nation contracted with a disaster, the last thing they want is a reputation, ladies and gentlemen. I will explain it further, but yes.
What will you do? What will your team do if that country keep depending on Asia in the future? Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I say to you, ASEAN gives help, ladies and gentlemen. But as you know, environmental disaster that includes the international scope doesn't happen often, ladies and gentlemen. And then I will continue to my argument that the last thing that a nation suffering from a disaster wants is a reputation, ladies and gentlemen. Reputation doesn't mean much to them. Why? Because they need the help. They need the fund they can get, ladies and gentlemen. So when their mechanism tells us to, when after they get the ultimatum, they will give the sanction about the funding. Ladies and gentlemen, it will further burden the economy of a nation suffered from disaster, to treat the victim, to make shelter, and now to pay the sanction, ladies and gentlemen. How can they treat their victim? That concludes my rebuttal. Then I will get to my substantial speech. Ladies and gentlemen, when a country, a state, or organization takes damage from environmental disaster, the sanction is the last thing they need. Why, ladies and gentlemen? I ask you why. Because first, they need to treat the victims. It will cost them money. Two, they will call on action to neutralize the disaster itself. It will cost them money. And three, they have to create shelters to provide home to the refugees. It will cost them money. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are many needs of a nation suffering from a disaster. And they will need funds, ladies and gentlemen. They will need funds and all help they can get, ladies and gentlemen. So if their mechanism is about to retrieve funding from the nation, ladies and gentlemen, they are wrong. Because of what? Because without a sanction, a nation suffered from a disaster is already suffering from the economical state, ladies and gentlemen. And then, because in the end of the day, nobody wants a disaster. Every nation knows really well that getting an environmental disaster will cost them a lot of money. And of course, each nation will try their best to avoid it. That's why the first thing we do as ASEAN, as an organization that consists of 11 countries, we have to use our cooperation to counter and avoid the disaster itself, ladies and gentlemen. We have the expert on this part. We have the expert. We have the most skilled SAR members, ladies and gentlemen, search and rescue members, ladies and gentlemen. So why not help the country with a condition? Why not help the country with a disaster, ladies and gentlemen? Because if the ASEAN decided to help a country with a disaster, it will prevent it from spreading much worse, ladies and gentlemen, and that will relieve the burden they have to take, ladies and gentlemen. Even the international condition, ladies and gentlemen. If you see the smoke in Riau, let's imagine if ASEAN give them help. If ASEAN give them help first, ladies and gentlemen, it will make the smoke in Riau become not widespread, ladies and gentlemen, and it will not affect internationally. So, with a prevention and with help, with cooperation from another ASEAN countries, ladies and gentlemen, we can prevent and stop the disaster from happening, ladies and gentlemen. And a sanction would be ineffective because of when a person knowingly, indirectly cause an environmental disaster, he'll be really hard to track. Why? Ladies and gentlemen, this motion, their mechanism is prone to suspect
the young, the wrong group or person, ladies and gentlemen. Because when a person knows that he caused an environmental disaster, he will, the last thing he will do is stay on that place, ladies and gentlemen. He will go as far as possible because he knows he created the disaster. He caused the disaster, and the last thing he will do is stay there. He will go to the other country that other country is prone to suspicion, is prone to missuspicion. So ladies and gentlemen, stand with us because we give the best solution to you. Thank you.
So let's call for the third speaker from the Democratic team. Please welcome Ms. Anne.
Atau lanjut pakai lanjut. Lanjut aja.
Baik.
You can respect the ideology, I think we just okay.
Banyak masa.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we're talking about this environmental disaster that have international effect, thus really affecting international citizens, ladies and gentlemen. Now we believe, as my first speaker, to give you our clarification of this, how should we handle this, how's our mechanism will work. So we believe that this kind of ultimatum stage and next moving forward to the second stage is they should pay for the damage that they've made. We believe that this is the only thing that works, ladies and gentlemen, than helping them. Now, ladies and gentlemen, why do we believe? First of all, let me first give you a clarification. Why do we believe that our proposal is the best, ladies and gentlemen? Now we believe if we give them the ultimatum at the very first place, we're giving them time to make them realize that what they've done or what is happening in their country really affects another country, ladies and gentlemen. So they should be responsible. They should be conscious of this kind of act, ladies and gentlemen. And next, if they're not paying much attention or not taking care well about this kind of disaster, then we should give them a sanction, which is they should pay for the damage that they've been created to another country, ladies and gentlemen. We believe that once a person make a mistake, there should be no right for them. No, I mean not right. They should be just fault. They're false in the very first place. So we don't need this kind of help. Next, moving to my rebuttals, ladies and gentlemen. The first rebuttal that I'd like to give is about the idea of government's obligation, ladies and gentlemen. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if we think logically, ladies and gentlemen, this kind of ASEAN association have a lot of members, have a lot of countries, ladies and gentlemen. Now we believe this kind of countries have this kind of government, ladies and gentlemen. Now we believe the true purpose of the state, the true purpose of government is to make their citizens prosper, to make sure that everything that runs in that country runs well, ladies and gentlemen. Well, in fact, if there's something wrong with their country, if there's something wrong with their local government, that means there's something wrong with their system of the governmental itself, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we believe this kind of thing will not be solved by just helping, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if we think logically, ladies and gentlemen, if those if we as ASEAN keep helping them with this funding, ladies, how can we make sure that this kind of funding will be effective, ladies and gentlemen? Now, they will only think as long as this kind of as long as this kind of environmental disaster happens, ASEAN will keep funding us, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, if you think logically, there are a lot of members of ASEAN, and what will you do? Do you think ASEAN will really have to pay to give fund to all of those? No, thank you. To all of those countries, it doesn't make any sense because the purpose of the ASEAN itself is to make agreement not to be in fully charge of helping the state, ladies and gentlemen. They already have the government, ladies and gentlemen. So why can't their own government prove their capability at the very first place, ladies and gentlemen? If we let ASEAN help them in charge to keep funding to control into Indonesia, if we take an example, that means we are breaking the essence of the government's authority at the very first place, ladies and gentlemen. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we believe that this kind of helping by giving them fund is not effective at all, ladies and gentlemen. So what will you think? What will you think this proposal will be effective, ladies and gentlemen? If we think logically, ladies and gentlemen, how can you make sure that this fund that been given to them is used properly, ladies and gentlemen? So how can you make sure that this kind of fund will not be misused by that government, ladies and gentlemen? So they will only think that later if they have another kind of environmental disasters, ASEAN will keep funding them again, and we just have to, like, later ASEAN will help them. So what's the point of solving it as soon as possible, ladies and gentlemen? Now, ladies and gentlemen, in my team's proposal, ladies, we believe sanction is the best way to give them this kind of deterrent impact, ladies and gentlemen. If someone is already fault, then he's the fault. He should be responsible to this fault. And if government can concern, or if government can take care of their people, of their citizens as well, that's the fault of governments. That's not the fault of ASEAN, ladies and gentlemen. We already know who wants to be in a part of disaster, ladies and gentlemen. Of course not. So what matters right now is the way you're handling it, ladies and gentlemen. So basically, if you take as example as my first speaker and my second speaker, I told you before, in real, of course, the main factor is not the human, but the worsening factor that makes this case worsen is the human factor itself, and the incapability of our governments, of our local governments to solve this, give burden to our central government. And today, our central government haven't even solved this kind of problem yet, and yet this kind of things have become global issue and remains, decreasing Indonesia's reputation, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe that our proposal is better because by giving them sanction, we're treating them and we're giving them a teaching that they should be independent for nothing, they should be independent for their own country. Why do they need help for their own country itself? This kind of country have this kind of government. The government knows the best about what citizens need, but what their country needs. So if the kind of government still needs the help from the ASEAN, ladies and gentlemen, still needs a full charge, a full fund, that means it proves that the government is not capable at the very first place, ladies and gentlemen. About the under pressure, this kind of things, if they should pay this kind of payment because of their damage, it will give burden to developing countries. So that's why, at the very first place, you should solve this problem. You should solve this problem at the very first place. Then if there is already given an ultimatum, you should solve it as quick as possible, ladies and gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, if ASEAN's goal is to make the member become more developing, then the country itself have to improve by themselves too, ladies and gentlemen, not relying by the funding of ASEAN, ladies and gentlemen. If so, the nations or country can improve because it's just really another help of another party, ladies and gentlemen. Now, ladies and gentlemen, they think that this kind of helping is the real action that can be given to those kind of countries that have been, breaking the reputation, as I said at the very first place. Now we can see no one wants a disaster. This kind of sanction will give them further burden, ladies and gentlemen. But we believe that this kind of Asians help, if we keep giving help to those countries, we will make those countries even worse, ladies and in the next time. They should try to be independent, ladies and in their first place. How could they? If you make an analogy, if they can't even handle this kind of environmental disaster, how could they manage to solve another bigger problems in the future? Do they need the help from the Asians still, ladies and gentlemen? No, thank you, ladies. No, thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if we think logically, and we give a comparison between proposal of the affirmative team and proposal from the opposition team, we can think what's more efficient, ladies and gentlemen. We think our proposal is more efficient because since we're giving you a sanction which is already happening right now, ladies and gentlemen, this kind of sanction will make them even better, ladies and gentlemen, because of what we're trying to make them independent, not depending on us, ASEAN, ladies and gentlemen. Well, in case in the opposition team, we believe that they will only make this kind of countries keep depending on ASEAN. So why don't you just make this ASEAN as the leader of those 11 countries, ladies and gentlemen? What is the purpose of the government itself, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, it's just not invalid. It's just invalid, ladies and gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, we believe from all the statements based on the reasoning and all of the reason that I've stated to you, we believe that our proposal is much better than the opposition team since we're giving you a clear mechanism, we're giving you a clear solution, we're giving you the future impact of what will happen if we give them fund or what will happen if we give them sanction, which is if we give them sanction, as my second speaker already told you before, they will learn, another country will learn that they won't do the same, they won't let their governmental to be sanctioned by this kind of ASEAN. So based on the statement, we believe that we should humbly beg you to propose this motion. Thank you very much.
like to invite the third speaker from the negative team. Please welcome Ms. Bernadetta.
Ladies and gentlemen, we know that there are a lot of the environmental problems nowadays in our world. And if we don't solve as soon as possible the environmental problem can cause a lot of the problem that can be dangerous for our world. So in here, what is the key of the problem is how we can solve this environmental problem, and we believe that our solution is the one that can solve this problem. So, before I go to rebuild the case of our team, first of all, I want to tell you the rebuttals. The first point of my rebuttal is about the real problem, as we know that the fog smoke problem in Rio. It already taken seriously by the government by giving the helicopter to make the fire off. But the key of the problem in here, as our team has told you, that this problem is not easy as you think. That it's not just because of a human. It's not just because about the human, but it's always effect on the natural effect that we know that it causes of the El Nino and also the condition of the soil gumbo in that land that makes the fire is too hard to off. So it makes the government hard to solve this problem, and they give the solution to us that we just give the ultimatum to that country, so that country will solve this problem. But the question is, how can the government solve this problem if the government if that problem is so complicated? So that's why our team in this case give you the solution that the ASEAN should give the help to the country, so that country can solve this problem completely. That's the key of the problem in here. They think that if we give them the ultimatum, it can solve a lot of the problem, the reputation problem, the environmental problem. But ladies and gentlemen, the fact it can solve the problem, because in here it's a complicated problem that needs the help from the ASEAN. And the second point is about their solution, that they say that it was the best solution about the ultimatum. And but as I said before, that they say that we need to help them by this ultimatum. It can solve this problem, but they say too that we must let them independent. So it's a backlash. They want to make them independent or solve this problem. But ladies and gentlemen, if they propose the solution is the ultimatum, but they said that ultimatum, with giving the ultimatum, will tell them to solve this problem. But as I said before, this problem is so complicated, so it needs the help from the ASEAN. But if you just say that solve this problem quickly, it's so useless, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, please.
So basically, how is the problem is complicated? We believe that this kind of government is chosen because they're capable. Just because this kind of thing, this kind of problem.
I get the point, ma'am. But if you said, how can we solve this problem how we can solve this problem if that problem is complicated? So in here, we know the ASEAN. We know the ASEAN is from the 11 countries that a lot of the countries can solve the problem of the one countries. If we have the good cooperation in here, we can solve this problem. If the government just solve this problem by just themselves, they can solve this problem. That's why we need the help from the ASEAN. And also, the third point, they tell us that's the solution. If the ultimatum it doesn't work, so we have the sanction that the country should pay to the ASEAN. But ladies and gentlemen, see the solution. Pay to the ASEAN. Ladies and gentlemen, we know that the countries in the ASEAN is a developing country, that we know what is the characters of developing country. It doesn't really have a good economic condition. In this case, you ask that country that have the disaster to pay to the ASEAN. It would make the economic condition become worse. We know that there are a lot of the sectors in here that government should pay attention, and they won't pay attention to the environmental problem because you make them more difficult and more harder to solve this problem. they don't have a lot of the they don't really have a good economic condition, and you ask them to pay again. So how can they solve this problem? Because solving the problem need the money, right? So in here, why we believe the solution is not effective. And the fourth point of my rebuttal is, our team has already told you that we know that the government still have the right of making the policy to control the disaster. I mean, we know that African countries have the right, the government in Africa to have the right to control the disaster. So the country that need the help from the ASEAN is just the country that really need that help in the serious problem. We know that the disaster, the environmental disaster problem in here that causes the international impact is not more than is not a lot of the disasters of Asia that make the international impact. So you can say that if we help them, it can make the country depends on Asia, because the disasters of the environmental disaster that cause the international impact is not a lot. Is not a lot. And the one who needs the fund in here is the one who really need that. As the example is the real problem that it's so complicated that needs to be solved by a lot of the countries in Asia. And it doesn't mean and helping the one of the countries in Asia, it doesn't mean making the government not at the first place, because in here, in this case. We know that there's the obligation of the ASEAN to taking care of that member. So it doesn't mean we interface them. We put the government and not at the first place. We just make them. We just try to help one of the member of the ASEAN, as they say that ASEAN need help them to make their reputation become better. So in here, that's the obligation of ASEAN, and it doesn't equal with making the government not at the first place. So that's the point of our rebuttals. And now I want to rebuild again. What is the case of our team? The key of the problem is how we solve this problem, the environmental disaster that caused the international impacts. And sanction is not effective. Why? The first, if you give the sanction to them, it just makes them more difficult again to solve this problem. So the goal of this motion can be reached if you give the sanction, because by giving them the sanction, it makes them more difficult again to solve the environmental problem. While we know that environmental problem is a serious problem that can be caused a lot of sectors and the international. Why it can be more difficult, as I said told to you, that the Asian in here don't have a good economic condition, and you ask them to pay it again. So how can they solve this problem? So why I say that in here, the solution is not effective. And the second thing, why we believe that we need to solve this problem by giving them the fund, because by giving them the fund, it make them can solve this problem easily. So if you want to make the better condition of environment and you want to solve the environmental problem of the Asian, so stand with us. Thank you.
Team spent 8 minutes, 16 seconds. 8, 16. Now it's time for the reply speech from the negative team. I'd like to call upon Mr.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I want to tell you that we are very meeting in this debate to the highest level of confusion, because they never tell us why this motion can appear, why this problem can be complicated, ladies and gentlemen. And they keep talking about the sanction and the ultimatum. But I tell you about the clash for today. The first clash is, which is better, give a sanction or how? The second clash is, will give a sanction solve the problem? And the third, how the country will make the reputation of ASEAN good or not? And the fourth clash is, will help them, in this case the country, will ban the authority, in this case government Southeast Asian. So let's see our solution. Our solution is ASEAN not need to give a sanction, but only give the help in this case, because what I said before, because the environmental disasters is in the help, not sanctions, ladies and gentlemen. The sanctions is only make the burden of the country more heavy, ladies and gentlemen. So that the resolution is ultimatum and funding. Of course, if you give the funding, it means the fund can make the burden of the country be bigger, ladies and gentlemen. And the ultimatum, as my speaker had just said to you, that how the ultimatum can effective to this condition, this status quo of ASEAN today. And also, ladies and gentlemen, from the first case we can see that which is better, give a sanction or help. I already told you before. And the second is, will give a sanction solve the problem, ladies and gentlemen? The answer is, if you ask the will give a sanction solve the problem, the answer is no. Because of what? Because if you give sanction to that country, it's only make the focus of the country is divided into the two part of problem in this case. And the third one, the third clash is how the country will make the reputation of ASEAN good or not. Ladies and gentlemen, as my second and third speaker had said to you, that it's all, of course, make the ASEAN reputation better. Because of what? Because in this world, international will see ASEAN as the good organization. Because of what? Because when the country and ASEAN member get the problem, in this case environmental disasters, ASEAN help them. So the reputation must of course be better, ladies and gentlemen. That's the third one. And the fourth clash is will help them ban the authority of the government. Of course not, ladies and gentlemen, because in my solution, I already suggest to you that ASEAN only need to help them, and ASEAN should let every country have their own decision for the people who causing the environmental disasters. That's our mechanism of solution, and they never heard that, ladies and gentlemen. That's what will happen if people who have to hear but they don't want to use one of them, ladies and gentlemen. And also, the point that I will tell you is, they keep talking about why we have to funding and ultimatum, and ultimatum and funding is compared by our solution to help them is very, very for ladies and gentlemen. Because of what? Because if you give a solution with help them, in this case, the international problem, the international scope problem will be faster to be accomplished. But if you let it, you give the ultimatum first, you give the funding first, like my test speaker has said to you, the problem is what, ladies and gentlemen? The internationally scope problem will be bigger. Because of what? We like to take the step, ladies and gentlemen. We like to take our action, ladies and gentlemen. So here, as the human, ladies and gentlemen, we have to protect the our environment. And in this case, as the human too, we have to see our solution is more effective and more efficient for our country and our organization, in this case ASEAN, than what they say and they could promote the solution. So that's all from me. I want to thank ASEAN and all of my team saying thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Now for the speech from affirmative team, I'd like to call upon Mr. Christine President.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this debate, I found some clashes and some failures. But first, let me tell you the clashes itself. The first is about the idea of sanction or help. The directive team have stated that ASEAN should give help instead of giving sanction because of those natural or environmental disasters. By help them by funding, and because the country who have disaster itself, they need help. Well, the positive team have stated that ASEAN should give sanction instead of giving funding, because ASEAN have to supervise that every member should not rely on the other one's help. And because of that, actually, the sanction itself helps the nation to improve. And the next point, next slash, is about ASEAN. The negative have stated that ASEAN's duty is to help its members. because the countries are ASEAN's member itself, ladies and gentlemen. But the essence of ASEAN itself is ASEAN should not fully take charge of helping the nation itself, ladies and gentlemen, just like the executive team stated. Because the essence of ASEAN itself is just to supervise and control their members, not take all of helping the action, of helping action, ladies and gentlemen. And ASEAN need to control and supervise that each member of the ASEAN itself become independent. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to the failure itself. The first is they somehow misunderstood our point, which is the independence and the solve problem. They question us which one is our goal, making the country is independent or solve the problem. So actually, what we were saying is the country being independent by solving the problem, because when the country can solve the problem, the government itself can prove their capability and proving to the world that they are independent. And the next failure is we think that if they don't want to pay the sanction, so they have to solve it fast, because it can improve the government's capability. And the next failure of the negative team is they don't have a solution if the country keeps relying on them. In condition, if there's a lot of Asian countries suffering with disaster, which cause an international effect, but Asian help them continuously. In the condition of lots of Asian countries have a disaster. And the next is, as long as the disaster happens, ASEAN will keep funding. They think like that. And the next failure is, how can you make sure that the government don't delay the process of the solving disaster while being funded by the ASEAN? They will. How can you make sure that the governments won't rely continuously to the ASEAN? Because that proves that the government itself is not capable enough to take care of its country environment. And because of that, because of the two clashes, which is the idea of sanction in the ASEAN itself, and the failures that I have stated, that we propose this motion. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, for me, the simple comment. Yeah. Well, both team, you already gave us some solutions, some arguments, but one of the big points of this it was done by both teams. You still need much elaboration. You still need